I was planning on finding some philosopher to have written about being thankful, but I couldn't. So screw it, I'll do it myself. Because we are all told that being thankful is a good thing, and we intuitively feel that way as well. But as Thanksgiving comes around, let's actually ask ourselves the underlying question: why is it good to be thankful? In this video, we'll be exploring different ethical theories to show how being thankful falls in line with many of these conflicting ideologies. Specifically, we're going to be looking at 3 practical consequences of giving thanks, and we'll see how these consequences satisfy different moral theories. Let's start with an interesting ethical theory: egoism. Egoism, very broadly speaking, is an ethical theory that is concerned with yourself. What's good for me is good, roughly speaking. You may ask how egoism can possibly coincide with Thanksgiving, but think about the psychological effects of giving thanks. It's taking a mental inventory of things in life that are going in your favor. It's focusing on the positive and thus resulting in you being emotionally positive. To me, that sounds like it'd be in your self-interest. Now you may argue, hey, I got all these problems knocking on my door. I don't got time to give thanks for things when I'm on the verge of losing a job, or I'm recovering from a car accident. If I'm really self-interested, I shouldn't reject my real problems in life that might affect my well-being. But I'd argue Thanksgiving is not a negation of problems in your life, but rather a set-apart time to reflect on good things in your life. Your problems will still be there, ready to be addressed at a later time. But Thanksgiving allows us to take some time for ourselves to pause, feel positive, and rest. Then we can get back to work. It reminds me of when I was told how to meditate. They said, look, the anxieties of your life are obviously going to pop up in your mind when you're trying to get all zen. But just acknowledge them. Set them aside for now, knowing that you'll just pick them up again after your time of rest. So Thanksgiving is not a rejection or invalidation of your real problems in life, but it's a mentally healthy time to just pause and reflect on the good. And hey, practically speaking, maybe this moment of rest will only help you tackle your problems the next day, since you'd be in a more positive headspace. So that's how Thanksgiving aligns itself with egoism, giving you time to reflect on the good to make you feel emotionally good. Next we got utilitarianism, Kantianism, and virtue ethics, all being covered by the next 2 effects of Thanksgiving. To save you all some time, I'm going to brutally summarize and generalize these 3 ethical philosophies in one sentence. Utilitarianism. Have your actions produce more happiness than suffering. Kantianism. Make sure you're doing the right action that you'd want everyone else to do. Virtue ethics. Cultivate good personality traits. I know I could already hear hardcore philosophy people getting mad about these generalizations, but I have more in-depth videos on all 3 if you want to learn more. So how does Thanksgiving coincide with all 3 of these philosophies at the same time? Again, consider the practical effects of Thanksgiving. Let's imagine that someone realizes how blessed he or she is as a result of this mental inventory. A couple things could practically result from this. 1, they start giving to those in need. After taking an inventory of things you're thankful for, you might look at the world and see others who have not been blessed as much, and this might encourage charity. Donating or giving to charity satisfies utilitarianism by having a net positive effect. It satisfies Kantianism because I think we'd want charity to be a universal action, and it satisfies virtue ethics by playing to your virtue of charitability. This is based on a bit of a leap that Thanksgiving will lead to charity, because this isn't a necessary causation. However, it would probably make one more likely to be charitable. That's all I'm saying. The second aspect of Thanksgiving that satisfies all 3 of these ethical theories is a reduction in consumption. Hopefully, by being thankful, one's motivation for acquiring new things decreases as well. This means no Black Friday shopping or whatnot, even though these deals can be pretty tempting. I'm looking at you, Crunchyroll, with those manga deals. Now let's run it through our philosophies. Utilitarianism. I mean, there is some talk in economics about how spending is good for the economy and whatnot, but we spend a lot when we go to war, which doesn't at all cause a higher standard of living. So I was never really convinced that buying things is always just a net good. Instead, let's think about opportunity cost. Instead of getting that new TV, your money can now be saved for a more serious situation, or, tying it into earlier, can be donated. Plus, by not shopping on Black Friday, that's one less member of a tsunami of people trampling over one another. But overall, I think the utilitarian aspect of this is a bit more mixed, but still somewhat coincides. For Kantianism, we we might imagine our universal maxim to be, don't frivolously spend on things in excess, which I think is a safe thing we could all agree to. Of course, there'll be a debate over the definition of frivolous and excess, but we'll put that aside for now. As for virtue ethics, it's obviously good not to be too spendy, but remember that, at least under an Aristotelian analysis, you shouldn't go too far in the other direction either, and end up like Mr. Krabs. This can be balanced out possibly through charity though. So there you have it. To sum it up, there are 3 practical consequences of Thanksgiving: a positive emotional state, charity, and a reduction in consumption. The first consequence coincides with egoism and arguably utilitarianism, but the last 2 coincide with utilitarianism, Kantianism, and virtue ethics. Are these practical consequences guarantees of giving thanks? Of course not, but they are likely outcomes, or at least push one further towards those outcomes if we were to consider it on a spectrum. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, don't subscribe, I don't want that. I really just want a Popeyes Cajun turkey. I know I made this whole video on Thanksgiving, but screw it, I really want to try this bad boy. But if you can't deliver me one, then at least subscribe, like, and hit the bell. And with that, I wish you all a beautiful Thanksgiving.